What's up, friends? It's Jordan, and you're listening to the I Am More Than podcast. We're a community of multifaceted and imperfect women here to inspire, educate, entertain, and grow together. We're excited you're here to hang with us and happy to have you part of the More Than movement.
It totally makes me really emo because like babies were born because of this. And it's really cool to me to that people caught a problem. Now their child is here because they were able to fix the problem from my story. And for me, that it gives my pain a purpose. And I'm like, that's why I had to go through this, because that child was meant to be here. That mother was meant to have that specific child in that specific time. And it's like, I did all of this to help, myself, but also to help other women.
This episode is part 2 to our conversation with Caroline, and it's an extremely impactful episode as we talk about the quote-unquote taboo topic of fertility health. Caroline opens up about how a modern fertility test at age 29 completely changed her life. She talks about getting those heartbreaking results, advocating for herself to medical professionals, and getting informed. Ultimately, she went through 8 egg retrievals and decided to freeze her eggs. I truly believe her story will empower every woman listening to take charge of your own fertility health, as it's never too early to get informed. This episode is sponsored by Modern Fertility, and they're giving our listeners $20 off your at-home test when you go to modernfertility.com/IamMore. Again, that's modernfertility.com/IamMore. When you originally found out about your fertility health, it was through a Modern Fertility at-home test.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
What made you want to look into that?
I have no idea. Jordan, I have no idea. It was funny. So when, you become an influencer, everybody does a modern fertility ad or whatever. And then I asked my agent and I was like, hey, Paul, I want to do, the modern fertility thing. And he was like, oh, sorry, they're only looking for people who are in a serious relationship. And I was like, okay, fine. And a year later, I just was like, I still am really curious about that. And truthfully, I thought my numbers were going to be amazing. And I was going to have bragging rights to be look at how many eggs I have. I'm so awesome. No, bitch, sit down. You have nothing left. And I'm so grateful to Modern Fertility, because if it wasn't for that test, I never would have known, and I never would have been able to have a biological child. It wouldn't have happened.
You get your results, and from there, did you make a doctor appointment?
So it's Modern Fertility is great because you do everything at home, which I love. You don't have to leave your house, prick your finger, you do all that stuff at home, and you can literally go put it in your mailbox, stick the flag up, and they'll take it away. So that's amazing. I love that it's so easy to do it. And then when you get the results, they just email them to you. And if something's out of whack, you can book a call with a nurse, and the nurse will be like, hey, here's what it looks like for you. And so the one thing with this was the nurse had said to me, she was like, oh, because I'm crying. I've Googled what my numbers look like, and it's telling me my numbers are that of a 45-year-old menopausal woman. And I'm like, what? I'm just turned 29. I didn't get it. The nurse had said, she was like, oh, don't worry. She's like, you'll be able to have kids, but ... you'll just need an egg donor. And so she had basically told me that I'm not going to be able to have my own biological child. And that killed me. And I just remember sobbing hysterically, thinking about myself, flipping through these books of how am I supposed to pick an egg donor? Luckily, we later came up with the idea that my sister is my egg donor. So we froze my sister's eggs. So if for some chance I need them, they are there and I can use them. But I was able to get 11 of my own. And so from the Modern Fertility appointment, then I went to, a fertility clinic. I hated the first fertility clinic I went to. So something I didn't know, and it's not super mainstream knowledge, is that, so if you're someone who's experiencing infertility, go, and if you're have a bad case like mine, go to a boutique fertility clinic. So a bigger clinic, like the one that I first went to, and I won't name names because they still do amazing work and have a lot of people who they are able to help. I was not one of them. The thing is that a lot of the bigger name clinics won't take on somebody with numbers like mine, because it's too risky for them. And what it does is because I probably won't have a good success rate. It's going to mess with their stats and their numbers. And so it's going to make them look like they're not a successful clinic. So a lot of times they won't even bother helping somebody if they have under, 4 follicles, 4 or 5 eggs, like all that stuff. So yeah, it's just, if you are in a situation, find someone smaller who can help you. Like, so my doctor is amazing. I love her so much. The egg whisperer, she's the love of my life. When everybody told me I wouldn't be able to have my own biological child, she made it work. And so nothing is, promised. It's not like it's like just because we have eggs that they'll turn into anything. There's a very huge chance that I've gone through all of these, I had 8 egg retrievals.
And walk me through that, because you found the egg whisperer. She lived in San Francisco, and you were living where? Florida or Boston?
Dallas.
Dallas. Somewhere in there.
I was living everywhere.
Everywhere. So you're in Dallas, you find her, you fly to San Francisco. What does preparing your body for the first retrieval look like?
So everyone is different. But so I talked to her and she looked at my levels and everything. And so what she recommended for me was a series of supplements. Like prenatal vitamin CoQ10 is something that she recommends most women to be. Obviously, consult your doctor. But a prenatal vitamin and CoQ10 is something that most women of childbearing years should be taking, just for overall the health of the things down there. Again, it's like, I'm just like, yes, ma'am. I'll do whatever I will literally follow you anywhere you tell me to go. Like, I'll do it. She's great. So yeah, so I did a lot of supplements. I was taking just like, I had like the grandma little pill case, and I was like, all my little pills all in there. I was doing acupuncture 2 to 3 times a week. Just going for walks, no crazy exercises, like just for me personally, just because like to keep my cortisol levels down, just trying to like just move my body as an act of love and not as an act of like, let's be fit, like, which is just another battle that I have. And yeah, so I did all that stuff and I was preparing my body. And truthfully, I probably didn't even need to prepare it as much as I had. I was like, oh, like give me like 2 months to like prepare. And she's like, no, bitch, let's go now. And so, yeah, it was very simple. I mean, like you mix the shots and people are really intimidated by it, but it's really all in your head. Like, I think like in giving yourself the shots, people were like, I could never. And I was like, I know, but you do. Like, you think you can't, but then you do. And it's like, because at the end of the day, it's funny the way that you have to kind of, it's a lot of mind over matter. And it's funny the way that I've trained my brain to think about certain things, because it's like, okay, like we're on like a mission, like my kid has been like lost or kidnapped and they're somewhere else. And if I don't do all of these things, they don't get to come home. And that's how I think about it, doing any kind of fertility treatment, because it's like, it's so much on you. And it's like, but literally, if you don't do this, you don't get to bring your kid home. And it's just kind of like they're lost over there somewhere. Like, and it's just so goofy, like the things you tell yourself to like mentally power through all of it, but
to get through it.
I figured out. So
fertility health has been such a taboo topic, and I love that conversations like the one we're having on this podcast is bringing light to something that affects all of our female listeners. Caroline's journey inspired me to order a modern fertility kit so that I could get informed about my own fertility health. I love that I was able to test my hormones in the comfort of my own home. All they needed was a simple finger prick with a few drops of blood. I mailed it in with a prepaid label and got personalized results within a week. It could not have been easier. This test gives you insight into your hormone levels, like your ovarian reserve, which basically tells you if you have fewer eggs than average for your age, and other important factors that can impact your fertility. I took these test results into my doctor, and with this insight, we got to come up with a plan together about preparing my body for that next step. I think the biggest problem women face when it comes to fertility is education. We don't learn about fertility until we're ready to conceive or having issues conceiving, but this proactive information allows you to take action steps if necessary. Traditional hormone testing at a fertility clinic can cost over $600, but Modern Fertility tests the same general sets of hormones for only $179. Right now, Modern Fertility is offering our listeners $20 off this test when you go to modernfertility.com/IamMore. That means your test will cost $159, which is a fraction of what it would cost at a fertility clinic. Get $20 off your fertility test when you go to modernfertility.com/IamMore. Again, that's modernfertility.com/IamMore.
Are you guys planning on having kids anytime soon? Or I know I hate to ask this question, but I just, because I know people are like, don't ask that. But is that something you guys have been thinking about?
So I ordered a modern fertility test after talking to you originally in, gosh, this was what, 2021?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
ordered one just for peace of mind, just because
Yeah.
it's, you never know. And I realized how unspoken this is. Even you go in for like your annual pap smears and you do all the things at your gynecologist that you think are right. And I've been on birth control since I was 15. So for almost
Yeah.
half my life.
It's terrible for us. And
It's
it's so
so bad.
sad that we've just been like told, like, oh, hey, like you have cramps, here's birth control. Oh, hey, like, you're having sex, birth control. Like there are so many other options of things that we can do. And it's so bad the way that birth control, like, I don't think it's good for any of us. I'm not a doctor, so, do you, but I just think it's terrible that we've been pumping I'm pumping our body with these hormones that directly affect our fertility.
Mm-hmm. I mean, mainstream healthcare still is kind of under the assumption that it really has no impact. Where then when you start getting a little bit older, and it's funny, you spend like so much of your sexually active life being like, the worst thing that would happen is getting pregnant. And then something flips, and then suddenly you're like, now suddenly like we want to get pregnant, and it's supposed to just happen like that. And I've seen so many of my friends go
So
through
many people.
such horrible obstacles to try and make that happen. Whether my friends are single, whether they're married, whether they've been trying for years, whether they've been trying for months. And so I ordered one of those tests just for peace of mind, took it into my doctor to try and like come up with a game plan so that when we're ready, like you hope that there's not huge obstacles in the way, but there's also nothing that guarantees anything.
Right. And it's so wild because so many people aren't talking about this. It's one of those weird taboo topics that people like don't want to talk about because for some reason we've all been like brainwashed into being like, oh, you can't talk about your pregnancy until the second trimester in case you lose it. And it's like, bitch, if your goldfish died, you would talk about it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, why do I have to like silently go through a miscarriage? Like, I don't think so.
As 1 in 4 women are experiencing.
Right. Like 25% of women are dealing with this. Like, why aren't we talking about it? And also it's just like, the bigger thing is that it's like, so one, like people shouldn't have to be going through this alone, but I get if you want privacy, like you do you. But I think the bigger thing is that I don't think we realize how big of a problem infertility and miscarriage are because we're not talking about them. So if you're like going through this like a whole thing quietly and you're not telling all your people like what's going on, they don't think it's that big of a deal. They don't think it's that common, but no one's talking about it. If people were like, if you could go into like an auditorium and be like, hi, can everyone raise their hand who's been struggled with infertility? And everyone actually raised their hand honestly, you would be like, holy shit. So like the way that infertility rates are increasing is terrifying. Like my doctor thinks in however many years that the government will pay people to freeze their eggs because the way that the infertility rates are on the rise, this is going to be a huge problem. And so it's like, people get mad when I'm like, freeze your eggs. And they're like, you shouldn't be encouraging people to do that. I'm like, I wish someone had encouraged me. I wish when I was 18 years old, I did it. I would have needed 1 surgery instead of 8.
So you did go through 8 retrievals, and you ultimately retrieved 11?
11. Yep.
Wow.
I know that the last one she said was kind of ugly. It was like an ugly egg. So it's probably like more like 10. But I'm going to cling to the 11 because
there
I
you
like
go.
it.
Lucky number 11. So then they take your eggs, and excuse my ignorance because I know nothing about this.
I didn't know anything until I did.
And you put them in a freezer.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And then it's like, if and when you're ready.
So, and it's crazy because people are like, oh, well, that's 11 babies. And I was like, not quite. So like another friend of mine just did, her and her husband are going through IVF. They got 18 eggs. And of those 18, they only got 7 embryos. So just because you get a set number of eggs doesn't mean you're guaranteed for that egg to turn into a baby. There's still a whole process of like, okay, like, and this is above my pay grade because I don't have any sperm to mix with my eggs yet. So this is just like what I've heard through the grapevine. So like you get your eggs and then from there you mix it with the sperm and then you have to see which of those eggs that you retrieved are mature. So like sometimes you get, So my sister got 27 eggs, and of those 27, 20 of them were mature. Then from there, they go from, mix it with the sperm, and it does it turn into like a day 5 blastocyst. I don't know what any of this means, okay? I should have paid better attention in high school, but I don't know.
I don't think they teach us this stuff.
Yeah, Dr. Amy will tell you. If you just ask the egg whisperer, she'll tell you what to do. But anyway, so you retrieve the eggs, then you go mature eggs, then you go which one makes it to a day 5 blast, and then which one goes to like makes it to an embryo, and then like there's like a bunch of stages that you have to have a healthy. Then you have genetic testing, and like all of the things you have to go through to make that egg work, and then or that embryo work, and then you have to like pump your body with all these hormones and these crazy things to like get your like lining ready to have everything like situated in your uterus. And then when you implant the embryo, then you can put the embryo in and it just doesn't take. It's like, it's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. And I pray to God that he like sees my heart and knows like how badly I want to be a mom and that I would be a good mom and like all these things. And so I would love to have my own biological child. I would love to also adopt, but like I want to experience pregnancy, and I want to like, I'm so grateful I have my sister's eggs as a backup, because if it can't be me, she's the next best thing. And so, and it's kind of cool because like the way I've had to like, obviously it was sad in the beginning, and I'm like, I don't want your eggs. And like, what a gift that I have her. And then it's also kind of cool because like she's my best friend. And it's kind of like, you typically make a baby with your person, but I get to make a baby with my best friend, and then that's kind of cool too. So
that's really
just
cool.
kind of the way I've retrained my brain about all of it.
Perspective is everything.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it all started because you pricked your finger at home with
for no reason.
$159 test.
I was just like being a nosy Nelly. Like I was like, oh, what's this about? And I'm so grateful to Modern Fertility. I love them. I could kiss them on their face 1,000 times. Like I'm so grateful because when I went to my doctor, she wouldn't test me, and I had the Modern Fertility results in my hand. And she's like, that's a consumer-driven test from the internet. Like that's stupid. And I was like, well, I already bought the test, so I don't really know what they would get about lying to me. Like how do they like get more out of me? Like I already paid for it. Like I don't get what she's like. It's just the internet. Like you're 29, you're so young, you just turned 29. And I was like, luckily I had the Modern Fertility results in my hand because I didn't give up on myself. I was like, no, like I'm gonna like keep fighting her. Like, and like I'm not gonna like just let her like bully me into being like, you're fine. I'm like, bitch, I'm not fine. Like, and so then I had to lie to her and be like, oh yeah, like my periods are like, not there. Like, no, when we've been trying, we're like, I'm just always having so much sex. There's just, unprotected sex everywhere, which is just like, she doesn't need to know the truth, whatever. But, yeah, it took me lying to her to actually get her to test me. And then the same woman who told me I was fine, everything's fine, I'm so young, 1 week later called me, and she had that tone in her voice. She's like, hi. And I was like, oh, I literally said to her, I was like, oh, you have like, I've watched enough Grey's Anatomy to know that the tone in your voice is not a good one. What is it? And my numbers were even lower than the ones that I had brought to her. So I was like, oh, remember when you told me I was fine?
Please. It's sad that you have to be such your own advocate when you go into
1,000%. And the thing is like every step of this journey, until I found Dr. Amy, I've had to like fight people to help me. And so it's like I had to fight the doctor to run the test. I had to fight my gynecologist she told me that Dr. Amy was trying to take advantage of me. And I was like, bitch, you don't even know what that woman has done for me. And she's like, you're never going to get any eggs. It's never going to happen. Like this woman is just like wasting your time and your money. And I was like, watch me. I'm going to get all my I flipped out on her. I like actually like screamed at my OBGYN. Sorry about that.
She was wrong.
She was wrong. And the thing is she came up and apologized. And I'm like, you shouldn't be sitting here doing blanket statements for all these people. And it's like, everyone told me that it was never going to happen for me. And I love Dr. Amy because she made it happen. So,
yep. Well, I'm proud of you for pushing as hard as you did.
Crazy.
Egg retrievals later.
Yeah.
And I love how loud you've been about it because you've inspired a lot of people to start these conversations.
It's really cool to see how much I've been able to do with this. And it totally makes me really emo because like babies were born because of this. And it's really cool to me to like that people caught a problem they like caught the problem and now their child is here because they were able to fix the problem from my story. And like for me, that like it gives my pain a purpose. And I'm like, that's why I had to go through this, because that child was meant to be here. That mother was meant to have that specific child in that specific time. And it's like really cool that it just like it's helping people, because there's still a possibility that I don't get my baby. And it's something that is a very real possibility, and it's terrifying. But if for nothing else, those other babies were meant to be here. And that's how I look at it. And so it's not a total like wash for me. You know what I mean? It's not like it's all not for nothing. So I pray that God sees like my heart, and that like I, did all of this to help, myself, but also to help other women. And so I'm hoping that he's like, okay, here's a baby for you. Like one day, not anytime soon, because, can't find their dad. I don't know what he's up to. Sweetie, if you're listening, can you like come home now? Like,
can you hurry things up, please?
Whoever you are, like, can you just like, it's time for dinner. Let's go eat.
Well, I love that you said your pain has purpose. And again, like I was saying previously too, it's your purpose is serving the woman you once were. And you're now serving. Imagine
I love
yourself back in those shoes of when you're 29 years old and you get that test and you're in a horrible relationship. Everything you've done to heal and set yourself up for this next chapter of life is going to be able to inspire other people.
That's the whole goal of the podcast that's coming eventually. I can't wait.
So tell me about this. Is it just going to be you and everything that you've been through? Because I think that that's more than enough.
Yeah. And so it is. And so the thing is like, so a big piece of it is that I have a story to tell, and I need to get it out of me, because it's like, I had this moment where I realized I was like, I can't like move forward. Like, it's just like this whole thing. I had this like, I was with my Reiki lady. I love Reiki. I love my Reiki woman. She's like, her and I are connected. She's great.
Reiki is like where they really like rub the muscle to like get all of the tissue out, right?
So no, she just puts her hands on you. It's like energy healing. If it works, I'm not really entirely sure, but the way that I
But you know what? If you feel good,
I fucking feel amazing when I do it. So like I keep going back, and like whether or not she's actually healing any of my actual problems in my body, what she's done for my mental health is just priceless and just phenomenal. I love this woman so much. But I went in there recently, and I have a lot of great, like, she's also like a psychic, like medium, does like, so sometimes she'll be doing like Reiki and it's quiet, and she'll have a message come through for me, and she'll tell me, and there are certain things. So like, it's weird. She always says something that I was thinking. And I'm like, I knew you were going to say that. It's like so bizarre. It's like really cool the way that it works. But there was one day I walked in, and I was just talking to her, and like it all kind of came out. We ended up not doing Reiki at all. We just ended up talking for like an hour and a half. And I just was like,
she's like a therapist. I love this.
She's amazing. And she like knows everything that I've been through. And I just was like, I had this image of like, I'm hitting like a curb, like a speed bump, but it's like a square speed bump. Like I can't like when you're like pushing your cart in the grocery store, and you're like the parking lot, and you're like, God, like it felt like I couldn't get past this thing. And the thing was talking about what I've gone through. And because it's hard for me a little bit, just because whenever you do something like The Bachelor, there's always going to be someone who has an opinion, who has nothing nice to say. And so there's been a lot of people like who go like, you're just here for like the likes, or you're here for like, you're just trying to get engagement, or whatever the fuck they say. And there's always someone to say that like your intentions are wrong. And at the end of the day, like, if for nothing else, I have to do this for my own sanity. And like, I just need to get my truth out of me for my own therapeutic sanity. Like, that's what I need to do. But I also like know that this is going to help other people. And I mean, between my crazy ex taking, me to not he didn't take me to court. I went to court with him, but like just all of the things I've gone through with him. And I know that he won't like me being loud about this. I know that he'll listen to this podcast, and this podcast will bother him, and he'll call me, and he'll text me, and he'll whatever. And I just don't care anymore, because I have to get this out of me. And I know that this is going to help somebody else. And because it's so sad how many people go through this shit and are dealing with either infertility, or dealing with an abusive ex, or an abusive parent. And so I've lived a lot of life, and I feel like I have something to share with other people. And I hope that whoever it is meant for, they find it and it helps them. And like, they just, I don't know. I don't know why. It's just this thing I have to do. And my Reiki lady was like, it's time to start the podcast.
I feel like I could talk to you nonstop. I appreciate you being so vulnerable and really talking about the stuff that you've been through, because I know it's not easy. And I mean it when I say that you are making an impact on everybody that's going to listen to this episode. So thank you so
So are
much.
you. I love this whole podcast. I love everything that you're doing. I think it's so awesome. It just, you're just so much more than meets, like obviously you're gorgeous, but like the whole concept of this whole podcast is amazing. And just like getting to see your heart and like the way you shine light on other women and their stories is just, it's important. So thanks for doing this.
If you're loving our pod, please take a moment to follow, download, rate, review, and most importantly, share with a friend. These small steps help us continue bringing amazing content every single week. Make sure you're following us on Insta at More Than Ink and subscribe to our newsletter at morethanink.com for exclusive More Than merch drops and info on in-person meetups. We appreciate you chilling with us and are always here to remind you you are so much more than. We'll see you next week.